Say hello to my little friend.
I'm expecting to be loud. Go up! Up!
Hey, Happy New Year. Welcome to the channel. I've got myself a Gatling gun at my local fireworks depot. I'm ready to celebrate the new year. We're a couple of days away, but by the time this video drops, it'll be after the new year. So Happy New Year to you and your family. Yogi Mama's on camera. We've got a lot of stuff to do. If this is your first time on the channel, welcome. We're working on a 2002 Porsche 911 Carrera Cabriolet, and we've rebuilt the engine. And now I've got it all in time, and we got to put the covers on and start slapping on accessories. So we have not a lot of work to do, but we got some work to do that I want to knock out so that Yogi Mama and I and our family can go and celebrate the rest of the New Year's weekend in style. All right? So with that, let's get going. Let's fix it. Straightforward, not a big deal. I had to clean the surfaces, obviously, to get them nice and clean and ready to go for the sealant. I did my Loctite here off camera. And one thing about this Loctite is that it won't dry until it is under pressure and between two pieces of metal and there's no air touching it. So these will dry up underneath. I don't expect this to ever dry here. No big deal. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. I also came around here and cleaned out the bores a little bit because of the seepage, but I think it looks pretty good. Now I just got to get the plugs in and then the scavenger pump, as well as the two VarioCam sensors here, and then the spark plugs. So close. There. Kind of confusing a little bit, especially if you didn't bag and tag your parts properly. But luckily I did kind of sort of, although the bag's labels wore off after all this time. There's two little brackets that help drop these in, or help push these in, I should say. This one, the O-ring was so new that I had to kind of use the bracket to walk the sensor down into the O-ring. I lubed up the O-rings, of course, put them in. But it's important to get these in place because this is obviously holding a wiring harness here. I don't expect leaking to happen here, but obviously it must leak because you got a seal and an O-ring and Loctite. So yeah. But anyway, yeah, so this guy here was sitting probably 4 millimeters too high. You could tell by the discoloration line here from where the old seal used to sit. So I didn't, I couldn't get it in without, using really hard force. So I just put this down and walked them slowly downwards. Put it right in place. So there you go. Nice and torqued, ready to go. All right. The next thing I'm going to do here is drop in the spark plugs. Oh, but before I do that, I obviously should test rotation on this engine. We obviously put something dynamic attached to the top. So I'm going to test rotation here. We don't really need to worry about on top anymore. And we're just going to go keep saying counterclockwise. We're just going to go clockwise. And there. All right. Everything's moving. No problems, no bind ups. Let's keep going. To hold the ends of the camshafts in place. It's more of a safety precaution because I got to take this off. So I want to keep it from moving, but I don't think it does.
Checklist.
All right, so verify all dowels are in place. Install the cam holder tool, did that. Remove the bar. Install the spark plugs. You gotta be real light here. You gotta be careful with these passages here. I'm just gonna put a little here. And I mentioned this earlier in my video, but you'll notice that I'm gonna really put a bunch on the other side. And in case you're wondering why, Yogi.
Is that for the same reason that you copper painted that gasket?
Yeah, actually it is. It's because this is the bottom end of the cylinder head, so the oil accumulates here.
Right.
So you want a nice thick seal to prevent a leak. And I gotta tell you, every picture that I've seen of an engine out on a 996 is dirty, like covered in oil and stuff. So I shouldn't feel bad when this thing leaks, in other words.
I see. There'll be a little seepage.
Leave my pinky alone. When I was in the Air Force, a buddy of mine that I met in basic training would walk around pretending like he's drinking tea, making fun of me. He'd be like, I say, with his little pinky up. Or he'd just walk by and hold his pinky. I was like, dude. So I've been doing pinky stuff.
Sounds dirty.
I've been doing pinky stuff. That is kind of weird. So again, push away. Okay, correct. I like not wasting any time, and I have the clutch set to like 2, right? So it won't go anywhere. It'll just get them down. But I prefer to do it this way because it's faster.
Okay. Well, I will stand here and we will time lapse this.
Yeah, we'll time lapse this. So I'm just going around one more time, just getting them all seated, because as I drill them, as I screw them in, they're all gonna start coming up, right? Because boop, 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 and boop. Okay, we're approaching the end here, folks. We are almost to the rear main seal. I wanted to show you this tool that I got. It is not LN Engineering or a Flat Six Innovations tool. They want like $600 to $700 for that, when this right here should probably do the trick. I've got an OEM seal, and it's got this blue collar in here. From what I understand, it's the blue collars to keep you from putting your fingers on the inside of that seal. So these seals are notorious for leaking, and so Porsche put a revision out and introduced these, but you're not supposed to touch it, and it makes it difficult to get the seal on. So I think I have a plan. I think this thing fits just like that, and it comes with 2 sets of bolts, long bolts and short bolts. I'm going to start with the long bolts to get the seal seated. I don't think I'm going to be able to use that because it's going to hit almost immediately, so I'll have to take that out. But then I'm just going to tighten it around and slowly push it in. All right, so I got it started, and I kind of wish it would have given me 4 bolts. See that? Because this side here is going in, but it's kind of going in offset. There. Not a good tool. Make sure you get one with 4 bolts. I'm just going to take one out and move it over. All right, it's in. The tool worked okay. Like I said, it needs 4 bolts, not 3. And you got to line it up pretty good. Otherwise, the other threads won't line up. So not a perfect tool, but it's not a $600 tool either. Done. Everything is done up to this point. Let me take a quick look. Scavenger pumps are installed, cleaned up. These things were really dirty. They must have been leaking like crazy, but they're nice and clean now. All right, one last test. Let's make sure everything cranks. That looks good. All right, let me get the spark plugs in. All right, now that the engine's done, well, the main block is done. Still got a lot of things to add to it. So I've been pulling stuff out of storage. And when I buy storage, I mean outside covered in a tarp. Some mice decided to live somewhere in here. They're no longer in there, I hope. Otherwise, they're going to come crawling out here any second. No big deal. The wires didn't get chewed on or anything, but I needed to take these off because I'm going to use the cats. But that's all I'm going to say about the exhaust because there's something special coming. for this sweet engine. All right, so what else is left? Well, we've got all of this pile of hoses and connectors, a lot of stuff. The intake risers, you see my ignition coils back there, oil cooler, lots of things left to do. I was celebrating just a moment ago, but hey man, it's the small victories that count. So lots of stuff. And I've got a bunch of replacement coolant hoses under there. Man, and I tell you what, I'm going to say this one more time. The FCP Euro kit is incomplete. And what I mean by that is not only did they not send me a complete set of head bolts, which is $150 on me, they were missing a bunch of O-rings that should have been in there. And then they're missing a bunch of bolts that should have been replaced as part of the rebuild. I mean, if they're selling a kit to rebuild it, then it needs to have everything that's recommended to replace. And this is what I mean. Valve cover heads. The bolts on the valve cover is recommended. It's not required, but these aren't torqued to 10 Newton meters. They're torqued to 13, so they have to be a much stronger bolt, and I believe these are grade 1010 or 10 something. So those should have been replaced. You can see some of the shiny hardware, but basically, without going into too much detail, because there's a lot, it was missing a bunch of bolts. And then I ended up calling them and say, give me all the bolts. Give me a list of all the bolts that are required to assemble the internals. And that list was incomplete. I didn't buy everything on the list, but I went back and looked at the list that they added to my shopping cart, and it was missing a bunch of bolts, like all of the bolts that hold the lifter carrier inside of the cylinder heads, not included. And they give you head gaskets, right? So they're assuming you're going to pull the heads off this engine, meaning that all the hardware on the inside should be replaced. Does it need to be? That's debatable, but most engine builders like Jake Raby will tell you, yes, that needs to be replaced. And I also feel like they created a generic kit for the 5-chain and the 3-chain. And here's the reason why. There's a couple more of these seals that don't go anywhere on the car. There are 2 of the caps here that there's 2 additional ones that are used on a 5-chain system, not included. Well, not necessary on a 3-chain. And again, like I said, the O-rings are just a joke. 2 lessons learned here is when you get your package from FCP, go over each and every item, because either they're going to forget to put something in there or it's not going to be included in their kit. So you're thinking, okay, I'm good to go. I got everything I need, when in reality, you do not. Yeah, this is one dirty fuel rail, and I'm going to take it and put it in the ultrasonic cleaner here. I've got it ready to go. For those of you who don't know what this is a super fantastic way of cleaning small parts and fasteners that can fit in this thing. You can get them really big too. This one's really cool because it has a heater in it as well. So I've got a nice little hot stew right here. And this thing may or may not fit. Yeah, if I take the cage out, I think it'll fit. All right, that's about as good as I can get. You can see it's already attacking it, but when I put on the ultrasonic part of the cleaner, yeah, it's like some of these things have seen a whole lot of engine fluids of some type. This is power steering, I think. Pretty sure. Yeah, and this thing is disgusting, man. I'm gonna stick that in there, give it a nice soaking, and then I'll flip it and do the other side. So I'm going to use a combination of dielectric grease and deoxit depending on the condition of the connector to make sure that there's no connectivity issue with the wiring harness. So we're almost finished. I've got all of the sensors installed, caps in, the last of the coolant setup here, the thermostat, or sorry, the temperature sensor probe, oil pressure, and then the access port. So, oh, and the oil cooler, can't forget that. So I'm done for 2022.
Oh, I like
Trying
the
to in my eye.
things.
Thank you.
Here we go.
Do y'all get this like every year?
No. I believe in you guys.
Say hello to my little friend.
I'm expecting it to be loud.
Go up! Up!
Okay, that wins the night.
All right, I'm back at it. It's January 1st. Happy New Year to everybody. I'm not going to waste too much time with my hangover. I'm going to deal with it. But right now, I'm working on the vacuum system here. I'm about ready to put the intake risers on, but I've got a couple of vacuum leaks that I need to address. This whole thing is a secondary injection system. It's meant for the cold starts, make your engine run efficiently. This works with the smog pump, I believe. That's why this thing sticks out. And then the smog pump sits right here in the engine bay. So if you look at the orientation of that engine, the hose comes in right there, and there's a smog pump that sits right here. So speaking of engine bay, this is what it looks like. I'm definitely going to clean it up a little bit before I put the engine in. But something tells me that I'm probably going to take the engine out again at some point to resolve some leaks that may happen. I'm just, planning for the worst or the slight worst. But hey, taking these engines out is not a big deal. The biggest deal is the amount of coolant that you waste. We're talking like 5 gallons, and that stuff is not cheap. And of course, the oil that you have to take out as well. So just food for thought. Yeah, my biggest challenge are going to be all of the harness holders, wiring brackets that, hey, I got the clips here. Oh, I'm missing the clip on the other side, right. This engine, on the intake risers themselves, yeah, especially on the fuel rails, you can see those holes there. Each one of those holds a bracket that will hold the wires or the hoses or something that goes across there. So I got to get all of that replaced and just try to figure out where everything is at on this car. For those of you just joining my channel, this car was rescued from Florida, so it was in bad shape. Basically, I think it's seen some water. The engine was fine, but there was some definite buildup of silt and stuff on the top of the cylinder head. So that tells me this thing had been nearly submerged, but luckily not completely. As far as the vacuum is concerned, these are the components that I got to figure out where they go. And you can see that this hose is really, it's not going to show off in camera, but this hose is really brittle. And so I went ahead and got some other one, but unfortunately it's white. I don't care. It's going to be inside the car or inside the engine bay. No one's going to see it. Still a little bit of an annoyance. You can see I had everything bagged and tagged, but look, after a while, the Sharpie will come off because of the oil or whatever is on your hands or stacked together and they're rubbing against each other. Either way, I would suggest that you do a different method, like perhaps tape on the inside marked forward, or use a wire tag on the bag with the paper tag, like one of these. You can put it on the bag somehow, attach it, and then you can write it on this instead of on the plastic. So that's a lessons learned that I've picked up rebuilding now 3 engines, that these tags are pretty awesome. And in addition, they're going to be used for reselling all of the stuff that's resellable on not only the Porsche, But on the Mercedes-Benz that I worked on, it was a 1995 Mercedes-Benz engine in my wagon, and somebody put nuts and bolts in it. And in fact, you can see the damage to the piston. And here's another one with the damage to the piston. But I've got some reusable parts, and the engine that I put in there only cost me $400. And what I'm seeing is that parts like the oil pan, the oil pump, the camshafts, those things are running $200-300 each. So there's money sitting here, and that's what I'm going to use these for. Oh, you want to see what the water looks like after all of the part cleaning that I did earlier in the video? Look at that. Let me show you. This was clear, by the way. I'm going to dip one finger, and I'm going to pull it up. That's oil on top of my head. That's slippery, gross oil. Let me find something white, because, you know, I'm brown. All right, let's try this paper towel. Oh, yeah. Look at that. Ugh. But believe it or not, this thing is still active. So I'm just going to skim the top of it and keep using it until it doesn't bubble anymore. And you can see a lot of the grime there that came off of these parts. Yeah, it's pretty nasty. But take a look at this rack here. Is almost completely empty except for the exhaust. And this thing was filled with Porsche parts. Like you can see here, this was bank one. And so I had all the valve train here with these containers. These are the springs that came out of the cylinder head that I did not put in because I put in the upgraded 997 valve springs. And thanks to Lan Hoffman from Hoffman Machine to get that done for me. And but yeah, so, and that's my dual mass flywheel and clutch. So that's it. I'm almost there, man. I can't believe it. But I'm still looking, and I'm finding stuff like this. Like, where does this go? And then I saw one of the hoses have something similar wrapped around that. But this is what 102,000 miles looks like in Florida with someone who just doesn't care about cars, apparently. Yeah, so in order to make sense of all of this, I'm going to have to lay it all out on the ground and figure out the routing. But I think I'm going to start with the coolant pipes and then go from there. Oh, and also I drained my fuel tank, and I never bothered to put the fuel system back together. But I figured, hey, I could let it air out and get all of the fuel out of there. But yeah, I think I got most of it out. There was a video that I did on how I siphoned it out. But yeah, you got to put fresh gas in here, man. Don't screw around with your new engine. All right, this is what we're dealing with here. We're gonna do the coolant system. I got a couple of pipes here that need to be attached to the underside of the sump. There's one that's pretty long. Now, when I took my car apart, this thing was completely broken. I believe at this point, in fact, you can still see some of the skid marks here on the bottom of the sump where the previous owner or the previous owner hit it pretty hard and knocked these clips off. And did they knock the threads out? They may have knocked the threads out of that one. I don't think the threads look all that healthy in there. Look at that. I'm gonna have to thread chase that and see. But anyway, there's 3 mounting points on this side. Pretty straightforward. The bolts are M6 by 12, 10 Newton meters. On this side, you can see I've got my IMS set up here. I have not indexed or torqued this, so that's obviously why I have all that set up. And then 2 mounting points here. I only have 3 bolts. I have to go get some more. These are low-grade bolts. I'm going to go to Ace and pick up a couple of them, maybe splurge and get some stainless steel. I don't know. And then there is a U-shaped hose that goes right here. And you can see it's brand new OEM Porsche, so you know I overpaid. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and knock this out. All right, and there. No big deal. Like I said, I'm missing 2 bolts, so I split it up. That one worked out just fine. I thread chased it. I didn't like it, but it gave in, and I won. And I've got this one bolted in. This one's not bolted in, not a big deal. And I've got my elbow good to go. So, what's next? All right, now I'm going to do the intake manifold risers. I got a couple new gaskets, and I did some research on these to see, which way should these go, ridge up or ridge down. It doesn't seem to matter, and there's no markings on this, so I'm gonna do ridge up. Hope I don't regret it. And it's gonna take 4 35mm bolts, which interesting about these is that these take 9.7 Newton meters instead of 10. So that's not a whole lot of difference, but it is what it is. So yeah, I'm gonna knock this out. The surfaces are ready to go. Let's do it. This is always fun. There's my pinky again. Now I'm self-conscious. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Good luck. This may be the last time we look in there. Look at how beautiful.
Hey, Yogi.
Hey, Yogi Mama.
Wait. What?
Yeah, I know, right? Since the last time you were here, look at this. Look how much work I've done.
Wow.
I'm working on the fuel system right now, but I've got the vacuum in a limbo state. I got a few more things I need to connect in order to route the vacuum lines properly. But that's what I'm working on over here. And you can see my fuel rail is cut because I couldn't figure out, look, a ladybug.
Oh, that's lucky.
It's pretty. Well, I'm gonna leave that there then. All right, so what I'm doing here is working on the fuel injectors. And I talked about this in my last video that the Bosch fuel injectors are basically unobtainium, right?
Right.
I showed you the price that I paid for them, and I talked to my viewers about it, and it was about $400 for a set, $425 for a set. If you do the search on this right now, they're well over $600 if you can get them. And they're selling on eBay, and you got to be careful on eBay because they may be counterfeits. They're selling a set of them for like $900.
So I can just put this in my pocket?
Yeah, one of those would pay for, I don't know, some dental work or something. So I just opened them up, looking them over, and I'm getting them installed on the rail here. And it's really simple to install these. I learned the technique from the Mercedes project that I worked on recently because I had to replace those injectors or recondition them. So take a look at how I'm going to install these, and I'll show you guys how to do it. It's pretty easy. I've already oriented myself like this. This is the one on the bank one side. This is where it's going to mount here. Look at the little ladybug. And so basically you want to install it with the notch facing this notch, and it's really easy. You do it dry. Look at that, how easy. And then this goes, and you can use a little silicone spray here to help, but I didn't need to. Oops. But I didn't need to. Hang on there, little ladybug.
Oh.
Didn't like the ride. There we go. And then right there. Click, click. That's what you want to hear. Click,
Cool.
click. Look, it's on my finger.
It flew away and then landed on you again.
Did I kill it? No, it's plain dead. All right, do this one right here.
Click.
You hear that? Click. I made the click. And that's it. And then it comes over here. And these pop right in here. I'm going around this way.
Yeah.
Watch my laptop here. Okay. And then I'm going to have to work them in. So once I work them in, I'll bolt it up right here with some simple little 6 mils. Cool, huh?
Yeah.
All right.
Very cool.
Thanks. Okay, scratch everything I just said. You got to install the injectors first, I think, into the riser. Mainly because I just can't seem to get the leverage to get the injector all the way in. So, yeah, so I'm going to install the injectors first, here and here, and then try the rail. Okay, and there. You saw the fuel rail. Kind of a tricky little thing. I thought it would be easier than that, but we got them in. All the clips are secure and torqued up. So we're getting even closer. And I've got some work to do to talk to, I think I'm going to use Summit Racing and have them hook me up with a new fuel line right here. And then we're good to go because all the other fuel lines are still good. So making progress. I think I'm going to tackle the AOS next. This goes here. That goes there. Oh, man. It's like a spaghetti bowl, man. I thought I was going to be able to knock this out in this video, but there's some things that I need to do. I have some replacement hoses that I need to route. So I might as well go ahead and just end the video here. And if you guys wouldn't mind, please subscribe to my channel. My viewership's been going up, but my subscription count's kind of flat. So I need you guys to just help me out and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. The next time I do a video, I'm going to cover all of the AOS and how I rerouted everything and get the wiring harness on. But you can see here that this is just about finished. So we'll see you next time on Yogi's Garage, and Happy New Year.
Yo, microphone check, make it a microphone check. Give it a microphone, I make it a microphone dead. Don't step to me, newbie, I could truly be moody. I could have played the French in the movies. I've been a part-time shadow cat, part-time, that is not a